Throughout the world, goods and services are sold and exchanged every day for various purposes and reasons, whether it be buying a piece of gum, hiring someone to sell your house, or participating in an international oil exchange. Goods large and small are traded in order for the smooth functioning of our society. However, buried deep underneath it all, an exchange is being made that is undeniably atrocious and intolerable. This is the trading of humans, otherwise known as human trafficking. In the United States, the two largest types of human trafficking are labor trafficking and sex trafficking. Men are more commonly trafficked for labor, and women are more commonly trafficked for sex. An unfortunate but not so shocking statistic states that women make up 98% of all people sex trafficked in the United States, and over 50,000 women are sex trafficked in the U.S. each year. As a woman, my concerns are immediately drawn to sex trafficking, so that is what I'm going to be focusing on today. The most striking problems I have found in the developments of human trafficking today surround the correlations between immigration and human trafficking and ISIS's threat on national security in human trafficking. After addressing these human trafficking expansions in today's society, I will leave you with some resources on how to combat human trafficking in your own life. In an article published by the Trauma, Violence, and Abuse Sage Journal, titled Understanding Trafficking in the United States, the environmental factors of each individual nation is pointed out as to what makes them the most susceptible to human trafficking. And according to them, in the United States, this factor is poverty. Poverty puts a person at the highest risk of becoming a human trafficking target. In America, poverty among immigrants is especially common. In fact, it is estimated that 75% of trafficked victims are immigrants to the U.S. The journal breaks it down like this. There are three main ways that people are trafficked into slavery. 1, they are kidnapped or sold, or by other means of physical force. 2, they are born into it. Or 3, they are tricked. This would be the case for most immigrants. Traffickers take advantage of their naivety and promise them a better life, the one America has advertised for them, promising better education, a job with a salary, and better opportunities for their families. Poor immigrants are vulnerable to this ploy and fall victim to it much too often. In one case, immigrants were falsely promised jobs in the U.S. Upon their arrival, they had their travel documents confiscated, were raped, beaten, and forced into prostitution. Once immigrants are trapped into this trade, they become stuck. In fact, 97% of immigrant sex trafficking victims stay entrapped because of their fear of deportation that prevents them from fighting back or seeking help. This is a cycle few are aware of, yet many would be concerned about and could have the potential to help, if only they knew. We owe it to those immigrants who we have promised a country filled with freedom and opportunity to save them from this problem when we have subjected them to slavery and abuse. Another alarming connection between human trafficking in our country is that of terrorism. The United States is working on employing new strategies as human trafficking becomes the Islamic State's new favorite terrorist method. So now is human trafficking not only a human rights issue, but it is a national security issue. According to an article in the Duke Journal of Gender Law and Policy titled Human Trafficking and Terrorism, sex trafficking has become the largest source of income for ISIS, as it is a fear tactic that also generates profit. The journal stresses that in terms of tackling the issue of sex trafficking, policies place such a heavy emphasis on the post-trafficking efforts, like rehabilitating victims and assisting them with their rights of protection and assisted prosecution. However, while the post-support for victims is something that should not change, an emphasis needs to be switched to focusing on how to prevent this issue in the first place. Especially now that there is a concentrated perpetrator who happens to be a known national enemy of the U.S., ISIS is one of the first organizations ever to openly publicize their market for human trafficking, and this is absolutely not a trend we wish to inspire upon other terrorist groups. So at this point, you may be asking yourself, what role can I have to help this national security/human rights issue when it is all a black market job that I cannot connect to at all? To that, I say there is a lot. According to the U.S. Department of State, it is extremely important for outsiders to be able to recognize the indicators of human trafficking, as it could be happening right under their noses and they would have absolutely no idea. Training is available to individuals, businesses, first responders, law enforcement educators, and federal employees. These learned suspicious actions can then be reported to the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888. One especially important occupational field that should be on the lookout for signs of human trafficking more than others is that of emergency nurses. According to the Journal of Emergency Nursing, emergency nurses need to be more educated to realize the subtle signs that may indicate human trafficking. Some of these signs may be indicative tattoos, no identification papers, a child arriving with an adult that is not their parent, poor hygiene, injuries that indicate abuse, or even the lack of medical or dental care. Children and adults do not typically disclose that they are being trafficked, out of fear of being hurt, held longer, or in the case of immigrants deported. That is why it is so necessary for outsiders to recognize these signs and speak up for them. Hopefully now you feel a bit more knowledgeable on the correlation between immigration and ISIS with sex trafficking, and feel you understand the resources that are available and the recognition signs of sex trafficked persons. At this point, in 2018, 8,524 human trafficking cases have been reported in the U.S. Of that, 7,067 were female. Of that, 6,081 victims were sex trafficked. And of that, 2,495 were kids. Sex trafficking is the world's fastest growing criminal enterprise, surpassing the black market drug industry. This may be a $32 billion a year industry, but you can't pin a price on human lives. It is alarming to see the lack of attention a matter regarding the trade and exploitation of our nation's lost mothers, daughters, nieces, aunts, cousins, and friends gets just because it is an underground job. This issue must rise to the top of the pile to our level of concern. It can go on no longer.